dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Hensley. First at 4, rain is moving through the mountains today, and this could be just the beginning. Our severe weather alert day continues due to the ongoing flooding threat. Meteorologist Evan Hatter has the latest forecast. Evan.
That's right, Steve. We continue to see the potential for some periods of heavy rain to push through the mountains over the next few hours. A lot of us seeing at least light rain right now. We've got more of that on the way. Outside right now, our high knob camera at the University of Virginia at Wise showing a rather soggy scene there, sitting at 54 degrees. First off, let's actually talk about how everyone is under the flood watch now, running through tomorrow morning. I don't think this is going to be our last flood watch either. There's the view from Wise again. Downtown Whitesburg, soggy Main Street right now. Temperatures in the upper 50s, but it feels like the low 70s thanks to the muggy air we've got in place. Temperatures around the region widespread upper 50s, even some low 60s where we haven't quite gotten as much rain into portions of the Big Sandy where we're seeing some slightly cooler temperatures. There you see our first round of showers and storms pushed onto the south. Not a huge factor in terms of severe weather, but did get a 55-mile-per-hour wind gust about 12:30 this afternoon out at London Corbin Airport. But you notice the orientation of that line, southwest to northeast. We got more rain on the way heading into tonight. So keep that WYMT weather app handy. You get, of course, our latest forecast if your area goes under a warning, or you can also get the latest radar imagery as well. And we only cool into the 50s overnight. I'll have the very latest coming up in just a few minutes. Steve?
Evan, thank you. Next week marks 1 year since historic flooding hit Lee and surrounding counties. We sent WYMT's Dakota Makerist to Beattyville today to check in on business owners to see how they are doing.
That's me in the green coat at the red
Don
light.
Bagley is no stranger to floods.
I worked for the Ford dealership on Main Street, and we went through the flood in 1984. Last time we had water until this time, you know.
He says last March, more than a foot of water got into his business, saying he had to crush more than 100 cars.
My business is mostly all concrete flooring. We did lose a lot of office supplies. We lost the internet system. We had lost our phone system.
But nearly 1 year later, his business, along with many others on Main Street, are starting to bounce back.
Business is good. Business is good. We're in a small town, and that's what really helps a small town, that, you know, we not a big dealer, but we're small, but we stay busy.
Thankful to be back. In Lee County, Dakota Makerist, WYMT Mountain News.
Lee County Judge Executive Chuck Cottle tells us the county saw more than $1 million in damages from the flooding. Food is just one of many ways people can come together, and one Eastern Kentucky food truck is using its resources to give back to a little boy in need. After connecting with the mother of 6-year-old Colton Ramey through an autism support group, Courtney Kreider reached out to Junior's Hibachi to host a fundraiser in Paintsville for Colton. Proceeds from today's fundraiser will go toward Colton's medical expenses while he stays at Cincinnati Children's Hospital for multiple health issues.
This is how our community works. We wouldn't be able to get by without the help of the other parents. So it feels good, but it feels better knowing that Colton and Heather are getting taken care of.
Those with Junior's Hibachi say they had a great turnout for today's fundraiser. They ask that everyone keep Colton and his mother in your thoughts and prayers during their journey ahead. COVID-19 cases, hospitalizations, and deaths continue to drop in the United States, but top health officials say vaccination and boosting are critical to maintaining that momentum. That's why the FDA is continually monitoring data to determine if or when healthy adults could benefit from a fourth COVID-19 shot. Right now, the CDC has no recommendations on fourth doses for the general public, but their updated guidelines suggest it may be a good idea for those with weakened immune systems.
People who are immunosuppressed should be going and getting a fourth shot because their bodies are less able to produce that protection that the rest of us have.
Right now, about 65% of the U.S. population is fully vaccinated. 28% have gotten a booster, but the pace of vaccinations is at record lows. Health officials say there needs to be a continued focus on raising those numbers. The Queen is holding off on virtual engagements for the time being due to COVID-19. Buckingham Palace says Queen Elizabeth II is dealing with mild cold-like symptoms. The 95-year-old monarch, who's been on the throne for 70 years, will continue with light duties. A source with ties to the palace says the Queen's ability to attend upcoming engagements will be determined in the coming days. Officials announced the Queen's positive diagnosis on Sunday. Let's head over to Wall Street now. This Tuesday, the Dow closes down today, more than 482 points. The Internal Revenue Service has an alternative for the facial recognition program used to verify a taxpayer's identification. ID.me, the IRS's facial recognition vendor, has drawn criticism from civil liberties groups, saying the program could harm the privacy of its users. In a statement, the IRS says people can now do a live virtual interview with agents without the use of biometric data. For those who still use the first program, IRS officials say biometric data will be deleted once a taxpayer account is created. The CEO of Tesla is accusing a Securities and Exchange Commission staffer of leaking some of the findings of an investigation. The allegations made in a court filing do not describe potentially released information or name who allegedly did it. Elon Musk's legal team is requesting an investigation into the SEC's probe into Tesla, calling for records and devices to be preserved. The SEC claimed in a letter to the judge that it had not done anything improper. Officials there also declined to comment on Musk's filing. The U.S. women's national soccer team has reached a landmark settlement with the U.S. Soccer Federation to resolve its years-long fight for equal pay. Under the agreement, players will receive $24 million and equal pay for the men's and women's national teams going forward. CBS's Elise Preston has more from New York.
No confetti this time, but the U.S. women's national soccer team just scored one of its biggest victories ever. The team and the U.S. Soccer Federation have reached a $24 million settlement stemming from the equal pay discrimination lawsuit the players filed in 2019, following the team's fourth World Cup victory.
It is a huge win for us, for women's sports, for women in general. And it's a moment that we can all celebrate right now.
The settlement includes back pay and equal pay with the men's team going forward, including World Cup bonuses. The two sides had previously agreed on improved working conditions.
The types of charter flights that we're taking, it's the hotels that we're staying in, it's our support staff.
The team says the settlement helps repair its relationship with the U.S. Soccer Federation and credits its new president, Cindy Parlow-Cone, a former player who took over in 2020.
For me, it's about moving forward together and really focusing on what's important in growing the game both here at home and across the world.
For star Megan Rapinoe, the settlement means the athletes no longer have to split their focus.
The players coming up next will have a much better ability to just play. And with that comes, them probably being way better than we ever were. That's kind of the goal.
New goals for the next generation of U.S. soccer. Elise Preston, CBS News, New York.
The equal pay commitment is subject to the collective bargaining agreements with the men's and women's unions. The U.S. Soccer Federation says they will be transparent in the process, inviting both sides to each other's negotiations. When we return on First at 4, today is special, and scientists say there's one big reason the Earth will not see another like it for the next 400 years.
And heavy rain continues to work through the mountains this afternoon and evening, and we're not done yet. We'll have the full breakdown on the way next.